Mike, check 1212. It's the Y2K collector, and did a little bit of game hunting. And the truth is that there's really not a lot in mom and pop shops that's available right now for buyers. I understand that this is usually the dry part of the year where not a lot of activity is going on. People aren't really doing a lot of buying and selling at this point. But I was really shocked to see what I saw when I went to a retro game store that I visited in the past near me. It's a pretty big store, and in the past they've had a large selection of a lot of items. And it just seems like nowadays, finding more of your more obscure titles and your more rare titles, you're not really seeing those as much in mom and pop shops. Now, I'm not going to say that that's the case across the board because, as you all know who follow the channel, a couple months ago I was in Denver and I went to a store out in Denver that had a bunch of like really rare and cool stuff. So I think it's regional and it kind of depends on what you have near you. I think some stores have more inventory than others, but the store that I went to today just seemed pretty dry. I mean, they had the games that they had in the glass case that's normally reserved for like your 150, 200, $300 games. A lot of those games were really like 40, like 30, $40 games, in some cases even $20 games. And I'm seeing that more at mom and pop shops near me. Now that could just be a local thing. I don't want to say that it's a national thing or it's happening everywhere because obviously things are going to be different all over the country. But if you are noticing that near you, let me know down in the comments if you're seeing the same thing. Um, or if your mom and pop shop is stacked with a bunch of bangers, let us know that too. But I know for me, I'm just not seeing the same level of variety, the same level of rarity, the same level of just, uniqueness when it comes to the game selection at some of the mom and pop shops near me. And for those of you who know, here within the tri-state area, we have mom and pop shops closing down. I just did a video with a retro game store that announced that they're going to be going out of business because they just can't afford the rent, they can't afford the overhead, and business isn't booming like it was. And that leads me to, a comment that I got on my channel from someone who, I think they watched a video of mine that I put out a couple weeks ago where I said that collectors and really more so resellers are deathly afraid of this happening. I think that was, or terrified of this happening. I think that was the title of the video. And in that video, I kind of just outlined the rise and fall of retro game prices stemming from 2020 and the lockdowns and all the hype around retro games. And in that video, I kind of stressed the fact that people who have low value games, meaning like if you have a collection of, um, Madden 2001s, or you have a collection of, a bunch of sports games or just games that aren't really sought after or are extremely common, it's going to get difficult for you in the near future for you to be able to sell those games just because those are not the games that people are looking for. And it's evident by the fact that when you go to, like, at least when I go to my GameStop, they give me literal boxes of sports games. They give me literal boxes of just like those random quirky games that no one wants. If like We Fit and certain games like that, they'll just give those away. And even if you try to take them to certain game stores, either they'll reject them. Like I have stores near me that just won't accept those games. And if they do accept those games, they'll give you 5-10 cents for the game. So it's going to be pretty tough for you to get rid of those games in this current market. And I think they saw that video and then they listened to a video that I put out like a couple days later. And that was a video talking about, basically in short, the euphoria that I think investors are going to feel based on the new administration that we have. And that euphoria in the investment market is going to trickle down into collectibles because you do have a segment of people who do view video games as a collectible. They view it as an investment rather. So, but I don't think investors are investing in NBA 2K. Those types of speculative investors are investing in probably more well-known and more higher sought after retro games like Mario, Complete in Box, like your complete in box games, your graded games. And I think once you start to have that certain sense of euphoria in investors, it spreads like wildfire. And this, for anyone who invests, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? So in the collectibles market, you understand that these things happen and it's cyclical. You know, 1 minute it's this thing, 1 minute it's the next thing. Right now, when it comes to collectibles, the main thing that's popular is Pokemon. And I think I even said that in that video, that Pokemon is the thing that investors are really on right now. Pokemon cards and Pokemon games are collectibles. They're considered collectibles. And so people are investing a lot of money in them. When you see lines of people waiting in sub 15-degree weather, waiting for a new pack of Pokemon cards to come out, they're not waiting for those cards because they're interested in going and battling someone in Pokemon at the lunch table. No, they're interested in buying those cards because they're viewing them as some type of investment, some type of quick flip, something that they can make money on. And I think that person, I don't know if they, I don't know sometimes if people, I don't know how people listen, you know what I mean? Or maybe I can do a better job of explaining my points. But that's a big part of the reason why I give backstory and I give a lot of context to what I'm saying so that it makes sense. Because anyone who understands a market like the collectibles market, like any market, no market is static. You know, 1 week the market could be up and the next week the market could be down. 1 week everyone could be really afraid to invest, and then the next week a governmental agency, a governmental body, the president, somebody could say something that boosts everyone's, thought process about a certain investment, and now everyone wants to invest in it. Or let's drill it back down to video games. Sometimes it could be a movie, right? A movie. 1 week, a video game could be a game that no one cares about, like Deadpool. And then the next week, a movie comes out, it's #1 in the box office, and now everyone wants Deadpool. Or a game like Piglet's Little Adventure, whatever that Piglet game is. That's a game that no one cares about. But then all of a sudden, someone compares it to a survival horror game, and now everyone cares about it, right? it's the nature of euphoria. That's called euphoria. And that's why you never look at a market and say, okay, a market is going to be the way it's going to be in perpetuity. Things change, circumstances change, people's thoughts and ideas and feelings about a particular thing change. And that's why you see these changes in sentiment with regards to collectibles. And this is why I kind of go back to just a video that I mentioned the other day. I think sometimes people combine video game playing and video game collecting, and they view them as the same thing, and they're not the same thing. And so one of the things I want to start doing in some of my videos is that I want to I'm going to do a better job of stressing the context of my conversation in these videos, so that you understand whether I'm coming from the perspective of a collector versus coming from the perspective of a game player. Because I think context definitely helps when we're having some of these conversations, and it helps people understand the message that's being delivered. So that commenter, I think they kind of viewed me saying that 1 week games were going to be worth nothing and no one could get rid of them, and then the next week I'm saying that game prices are going to go up. Now I'll add a little context again, just for anyone who misunderstands. Buying games that no one wants will always be a losing investment. Or buying games, and I think that's something that everyone can agree on. I mean, if you want to disagree with me, please let me know down in the comments. But saying you're gonna go out and buy every copy of NHL 93 and say, oh man, like that's a good move, from a collector's standpoint, that's just not something a collector is going to do. Now, if you are a big fan of NHL 93 and you want to get all the NHL games, 93, 94, 95, all the way up to NHL 2027, listen, go for it, because that's a game you like to play. But in terms of collecting, building a collection, and depending on the type of collection that you want to build, or if you're looking at collecting as an investment or in some form of investing, then you're going to have a different perspective on it. So, but all that being said, it's a very interesting time right now. And just being out there and being able to go out and see what's out there in mom and pop shops is very interesting. And it's kind of it kind of helps validate some of my thoughts and opinions on where I think collectors stand in retro gaming. I think a lot of them are having a hard time coughing up their more expensive stuff and risking taking a loss depending on when they bought their games. But I do think that for collectibles overall, Pokemon cards, comic books, I think as we move forward, we will probably see a certain sense of euphoria in that market. And I could be dead wrong. I'm not Nostradamus, right? Like I am not the weatherman of gaming and collectibles. These are just my thoughts. These are my opinions, and they're purely subjective. I could be absolutely wrong. But I'm interested to know what you think. Let me know what you're seeing out there at your mom and pop shops. Are you seeing less variety? Are you seeing less rarity? Or are the shelves still stocked with a bunch of really great games? I'm interested to know your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.